Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Hey, good morning, friends. My name is Jay Clark, and I'm honored to serve on your board of directors. We're happy to see all of you this beautiful morning. Whether you are new to this church, a longtime member, or a visitor, we welcome you. Our church has been gathering here in Richmond since before the Civil War. Our church has welcomed the stranger, regularly dared to ask bold questions, and often tried to bend the arc of justice to this earth. In the times when we did not succeed, we have regrouped and tried again. We hope you find something here that touches your mind and your heart. Wherever you may be on your faith journey, I know that you are welcome here today. We thank you for coming. For more information about our church, we encourage our visitors, friends, and members to please see our website, richmonduu.org. Our website has great information about who we are as a church, where we are, and what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Our website also has information about our programming for families, how we grow in wisdom, care in community, and act for justice. And of course, right there in the upper right is a link for donating to the church and supporting all the work we do collectively here. We want to be sure our members are able to stay connected with the church, so in addition to the website, please keep an eye on your email for our 3 weekly newsletters covering care and community, social justice, and worship and church business. Important news from your board and ministerial staff is always included in the weekly newsletters, and you can always contact membership at richmonduu.org for more information. Again, welcome to this time of worship.
Good morning. I am the Reverend Sherman Z. Logan, Jr., and I serve this congregation as your senior minister. And I'm happy to welcome all of you who's joining this morning in the Great Hall and those who are joining virtually for this worship service. Joining me this morning on the chancel is Jim Armstrong. And we also like to welcome with us this morning, sharing their musical gift, Holy River, with Laney Sullivan and Jameson Price. So now, if you are a first-time visitor or has visited with us for 100 times, I want to extend a warm welcome to you. And it is our tradition here at First UU that we meet and greet as visitors. So if you're comfortable, please stand and raise your hand, and the minister of the mic, Jamie, will come to you. And please tell us who you are and where you're from. And I also want to remind you that this service is being recorded and live streamed, just in case someone's hiding from somebody or under witness protection. So do we have any visitors this morning?
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Michelle, and I am new to Richmond UU. I grew up UU. I've attended pretty much all my life, and I just moved here from Florida.
Welcome.
My name is Drew. I'm here with my wife Betsy. We are visiting from Greenville, South Carolina, where a few weeks ago we installed a former member of the Richmond Church as our permanent settled minister,
Yep.
and she was elected unanimously.
And who is that minister?
You can't have her back. That is the Reverend Chris
Hockman. Please send Chris our regards.
Hi, I'm Tom. I grew up with the Charlottesville Unitarian Universalist Church, and this is my first time here in the Richmond one, so hi.
Thank you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Joe. We just moved here. This is my mother. We just moved here from California, although we've been on the East Coast before. And I've been UU all my life, and so is my mom, I think. So,
Universalist.
My dad was a Universalist minister and then a UU minister.
Wow, thank you.
Oh, and my name is Shava. I have a name besides Mom.
It's true.
Welcome. Jamie, I think we have one more person here, I think.
I'm Lainey Sullivan. I'm one of the musical guests with Holy River, and we're local to Richmond. We just live in Southside, and we've always wanted to play here, so we're really grateful to have the opportunity to do that.
Thank you. Well, okay. So thank you for joining us this morning in worship. And we know you have so many opportunities to spend your Sunday mornings. So we are ecstatic and tickled brown that you're here with us this morning. So please stand as you are comfortable to greet our neighbors and welcome our visitors. Please remain standing as we sing our opening hymn, Gather the Spirit. The words are on the monitor or in your hymnals, page 347, Gather the Spirit. Gather the Spirit, harvest the power, our separate fire will kindle one flame. Witness the mystery of the hour. All are the same. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather in spirit, of heart and mind. Seeds for the soul will lay in stone. Nurture and love and constant refine. Willy and spirit united one more. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather to celebrate once again. Gather the Spirit, growing in all, drawn by the moon and fed by the sun. Winter to spring, and summer and fall. The good of heart with the founding as one. Gather in peace, gather in thanks, gather in sympathy now and then. Gather in hope, compassion and strength. Gather. be joy in our coming this morning. Let there be truth in the words we speak and the songs we sing. Let there be help and healing for our disharmony and despair. Let there be silence for the voice within us and beyond us. Let us be nurtured in the presence of each other. Let us stand and join our voices together. For we are here today, my friends. Come, let us worship together.
These words are adapted from Harold Babcock. We gather to affirm the potential we all share for building community, for undertaking constructive change, for engaging in mature growth, for achieving greater humanity than we have known. May our meeting together be a time of reflection and possibilities untried.
This morning, I ask that we lift up and hold in our hearts the memory of Tyree Nichols from Memphis, Tennessee, another young black man killed by state-sanctioned violence by a police officer. When would some in our society begin to value the lives of young men of color? Tyree's life was deemed worthless to those 5 police officers who pulled him out of the car, chased him down, and unmercifully beat him as he laid in the street. Tyrese didn't get justice. The system failed him. And I hope those who administered the execution of Tyree get their fair treatment under the law, the fair treatment that Tyree didn't get. And also let us lift up and hold in the memories the 19 lives who were lost in 44 hours to senseless act of gun violence in California last week. Their lives seemed deemed worthless to the perpetrators who decided to eradicate these innocent lives from this planet. And there's been more mass shooting this year than days of the year. So I hope that the legislators across the country and in D.C. find mortal fortitude to enact laws that remove weapons of mass casualty from the streets, and maybe laws to have meaningful police reform. Until that happens, I'm saddened to say, friends, that I might be making these announcements for a long time. So as we enter into this sacred time of meditation, prayer, reflection, hold in your hearts the families of Tyree, the families of the victims of the Half Moon Bay shooting and the Monterey Park dance studio shootings, and hold in your hearts the family and friends of the thousands of lives that are ended and changed forever all through this country by gun violence and police brutalities. Pray and offer your thoughts that these families find some comfort and hope as they continue to grieve these unfathomable losses. I am sad over the loss of life, tired of excuses for the loss of life, and angry that we are paralyzed by the loss of life. But my hope is, beloveds, that we all can turn our sadness into compassion, turn our tiredness into advocacy. And I pray that one day, my 6 young grandchildren and all the children who are here in this community will one day grow up in a society where their inherent worth and dignity would be affirmed, valued, and celebrated and loved. And I hope that one day, just one day, they'll grow up in a world where there's less hate and more love. So now, as we prepare for meditation, let this place be a warm and gentle silence. The silence that smooths and comforts the wounded, the silence that years and insight into the heart and souls, the silence that calms, the silence that listens, the silence that speaks, the silence that renews. Let this be a place of warm and gentle silence. So let us now enter into a time of silence.
Anita and I arrived at the Harvard Street entrance of All Souls Church 20 years ago, and we discovered a place we wanted to be. Initially, I think we stayed because of community, but learning of Unitarian Universalist theology and principles deepened my relationship in the church and opened broader connections with Unitarian Universalists. It felt to me like the 7 principles had always been at the core of Unitarian Universalism. But not really. At consolidation in 1961, I found the new association adopted 6 principles, characterized by theism and Christianity in particular, and the misogyny that was so common at that time. During 25 years of growth, women in particular advocated for changes that address that misogyny and other issues with those 6 principles. In 1987, 25 years later, thanks in large part to Unitarian Universalist women and their allies, we adopted Article 2 of the association's bylaws that included 7 principles, a statement of purpose, and a list of sources. It decentered men in its language, and it significantly changed the presentation and content of principles, purposes, and sources. It was a radical shift from what had gone before. Since 1985, we've made modest changes to Article 2, and most recently, a movement by congregations to adopt an 8th principle has come to include over 200 congregations, almost half of the congregations in the association. We are a part of that movement. Responding to a 2017 General Assembly resolution, the association's board appointed a commission that first convened in 2020 and charged with that commission with, quote, to include in its considerations and deliberations the clear call at GA 2017 for the inclusion of another principle explicitly calling us to be committed to active anti-racism. That is an 8th principle. It also asked them to, quote, revise, replace, or restructure them as needed to meet the objectives of the Commission. In its report to the Association Board, presented on January 20th, the Commission has done just that. It includes a covenant among congregations, which is included in our current set of covenants and bylaws, but it also includes a covenant among Unitarian Universalists for the first time. At center are 7 values. We have never announced a set of Unitarian values before. Each value includes a statement of meaning, and I hear each of the 7 principles and the 8th principle in those statements. It finally includes statements of action to be undertaken based on those values for which congregations and Unitarian Universalists can be accountable. These are potentially transformational changes. They can be part of our next steps, becoming who we say we want to be. They can offer an invitation to others to join us on a clearer basis. And to paraphrase Reverend McPherson, help us build beloved community. Help us build heaven on earth, as he said. For me, they can help us continue becoming Unitarian Universalists. Thank you.
We're going to share a song that we wouldn't maybe normally share in this setting, but we're given an invitation to share this song by some folks in the congregation. This song was shared the song and its story. The song was written by me on the Camino Santiago de Compostela, which is a pilgrimage route through Europe that ends in Spain. I walked this pilgrimage route deliberately with the intent of healing aspects of my evangelical Christian legacy, which is what I come from, the tradition I come from. My grandfather was a pastor, my father is a pastor, and I was born the only son of our family, and so I thought that this was a legacy that was intended to be carried out by me. So I attended seminary or Bible college in Cincinnati, dropped out after a semester, or was sort of kicked out after a semester for lots of questioning and just types of revelations that were coming to me, and that was replaced with a lot of anger in my life for a long time, and I witnessed that I had created a deity out of that anger, and that I needed to heal aspects of that legacy. And so I did this Camino Santiago de Compostela for that purpose, and it's now led me to a place where I'm sometimes facilitating workshops or community conversations called the Post-Traumatic Christian, or subtitle, How to Not Throw Baby Jesus Out with the Bathwater. And sort of just having these conversations around the damage and some of the things that can happen from these types of faith traditions, and giving yourself permission to take off old lenses and crush them and apply new lenses to situations and places.
Thank you, Holy River. Well, if you're into policy, church governance, wonkiness, this is a service for you. We come to Unitarian Universalism from theologically diverse religious and spiritual paths. We are atheists, humanists, Jews, Christians, Buddhists, pagans, deists. Each person's spirituality is unique, and our faith tradition honors and reflects this. We're called to fight for justice, equity, fairness, and equalities when we are gathered in our fellowship halls, our congregations, and churches on Sunday mornings. And we're drawn together by a common set of values and belief, bound together by our 7 or 8 principles and 6 sources that we know and love. Now, for some, the current principles serve as a theological statement, a personal code of ethics, and a way to explain who we are as UUs. For many, the principles are at the core of their faith, the reason that they are UUs. But there are some people who are unhappy about the aspects of changing our principles and sources. For example, there's a group that's called Save Our 7 Principles, and they feel that the recommended changes to our Article 2 would tear apart the fabric that connect our faith together. Some of the opponents of the change have shouted, if you like to change them, you better have a darn good reason. Beloved, there's nothing sacred about the numbers of principles or sources, their specific wordings, or the way the Article 2 is laid out. They're not immutable, and we're not talking about the 10 Commandments. But through our storied history of our faith tradition, constant change has occurred. Changes are who we are as Unitarian Universalists, and we say one of our core values is learning and valuing the direct experience. That means we have to be open to change. Now, we know change can be painful and can cause angst, anxiety, and discomfort, but we know that it's impossible to learn and grow and not to change. So about every 15 years, we study our principles, purpose, and sources, and talk about whether or not they are doing the job we need them to do, and whether or not they reflect the whole Unitarian Universalist and not just the parts. So in 2020, the UU Board of Trustees, which I'm a member of, appointed the Article 2 Study Commission to lead a discernment process for our association about our core values, covenant, and purposes. The board gave the commission a broad charge to review, change, and reimagine Article 2 and to enable our UU member congregations to be relevant and powerful source for spiritual and moral growth, healing, and justice. And this charge also adds proposed change that could articulate our UU core values, and that value is love. Now, the Reverend Mr. Bob Grieve and the late Elandra Williams were UU co-moderators at the time the Article 2 commissions were appointed. And they said in the charge, the new principles and proposed should guide us in transformation of ourselves and our communities and our faith into an active network of collective care, restoration, and justice. The principle and purpose are living documents that challenge our Unitarian Universalists to place liberation in all its dimensions at the center of our lives. And the principle and purpose should be honest about our past, name our challenges that are facing, our aspiration, and where we hope to be, not just today, but looking out at the horizon. The principle and purpose should ask us to choose love and action, and that the commission is root to work in love as principle to guide its work. So here we are, after 2.5 years of study, conversations with thousands of Unitarian Universalists, the Article 2 Study Committee submitted their final report and proposal to the UUA Board of Trustees at their meeting on last weekend. And I hope some of you had an opportunity to be among the hundreds of people who attended the meeting online. And since I only have a few minutes here to preach, I suggest that you read the Article 2 Study Commission report, which is available online for your review for more detailed information. In its charge, the commissioners asked the UU board, in its charge to the commissioner, the UU board asked them to reimagine what Article 2 could look like and center and love. And Catherine, can you please show the slide? Okay. So in reimagining Article 2, the commissioner took the current principles and sources and converted them into 7 one-word values with a short sentence and an explication followed by commitment, a promise to assert values. And when you read the changes in Article 2, you will hear our 7 principles and our 8 principles in those profound statements. So as you see on the monitor, on the diagram shown on the monitor on the slide, there's an image of a chalice with an overlay of love over flame with 6 outstretched arms that create a circle around the core value and form a 6-petal flower shape. These shared values are inseparable forms, and beloved, this is love in action with accountability built in it. And according to my fellow trustee and colleague, the Reverend Sam Trumbull, it defines us as a faith of transformational action, not a religion of self-satisfied or self-righteousness. The proposed revision of Article 2 states that the purpose of Unitarian Universalist Association is to actively engage its members in transforming the world through liberation and love. It is a type of love that spans beyond emotional and personal love. It's a type of love that is expressed through a commitment that we see ourselves as a part of a vast social network that is greater than ourselves. This love can be described by theists as a love of God, and by atheists, this love is expressed by a social value of the common good. So love is the power that holds us together, and that's the center of our shared values. Love keeps us accountable to one another for doing the work of our shared values and the spiritual discipline of love. Love is the recognition of inherent worth and dignity of all people, and love is at the core of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Compassion, care, and loving kindness are all expression of love. And in the verbiage of the new Article 2, each value has a unique promise to go with it. This sets up a guide for action as an institution and individual in relation to that values. So let me spend a few minutes to talk about the values that are inseparable from one another and will hopefully guide our faith in the years to come. So first, let's talk about interdependence. We UUs honor the independent webs of all existence, and we covenant to cherish the worth, all creation, and nurture relationship of care and respect. We're called to acknowledge the place in a great web of life and to work to repair harm from damaged relationships with humility and reverence. Does this sound familiar? This is the reframing of our current 7 principles, honoring the independent web of all existence. And its values remind us that all living creatures, humanity, nature, animals, need each other to survive. And we must relate to the earth with respect and care and commit to our planet repair. Next is pluralism. We UUs are asked to celebrate that we are sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. And we ask to be in covenant to learn from one another our free and responsible truth of search, the truth and meaning. This is where we move beyond tolerating each other. And still we should embrace our differences, our commonality with love, curiosity, respect, and where the practice of inclusion is essential to our faith movement, where all are welcome despite our differences. We cannot do the work of our faith alone as individuals, isolated in silos, and we must know that we all are in this together. The next value is transformation. In order to be part of a faith community and for our faith to survive, we need to adapt to a changing world. Now, we all know change can be challenging, uncomfortable, and unsettling, but it is inevitable. And openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritage. of faith movement that is never perfect and never complete. And beloved, we won't always get things right, but it doesn't mean we stop working towards making things right in the beloved community. And we're asked to covenant to transform and grow spiritually and ethically collectively. But to grow spiritually and to grow ethically, we must be willing to take risks, to step outside of our comfort zone, and believe it or not, admit when we don't have the answer. Now, I know that's hard for some of us in this room, present company included. So now let's talk about justice. We're called as UUs to work to be a diverse, multicultural, beloved community where we all thrive. And we covenant with each other to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppressions. We also support the inclusion of the democratic process to make decisions. And here you see the strong influence of the 8th and 5th principle. And friends, when we use the democratic process, we're not bound to Robert's Rules of Order, and we're asked to create systems in our government structures that are anti-oppressive and inclusive for all marginalized voices in the community. The next value is equity, which isn't the same as justice. Equity focused on individuals. And as UUs, we are inspired by sacred and secular sources to help us live our lives and our values. And we are asked to respect the historical context and culture in which they were created and are currently practiced. Every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. And the equity value also charges us to build and sustain an accessible and inclusive community. And the last value is generosity. As we are generous spirits, we UUs are called to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant with each other freely and compassionately to share our faith, presence, resources with the beloved community. And our generosity connects us to one another in relationship of interdependence and mutuality. So, Catherine, you can remove the slides. So I finished talking about the 6 inseparable values that are center and love. And now you may wonder, well, what happened to our 6 sources? Okay. They didn't disappear, but we are inspired by both secular and sacred sources, and the commissioner recognized that for some of us, the many values in our current list will be a more daunting task to change than changing its principles. But nothing that the commissioner proposed in the revised Article 2 revision contradict what is in the 6 sources. The commissioners felt that it's better to list these sources in the bylaws, and it would be better to articulate what our inspiration do and how we should approach any source of inspiration. The inspiration are explicitly tied to our values and practice of cultural respect. So, beloveds, the Article 2 Commission answered the charge, did their due diligence, honored their commitment to our Unitarian Universalist faith, and the board has approved putting the Article 2 Study Commission report on the agenda of the GA in Pittsburgh this June. So now it will be up to our General Assembly delegates to decide the fate of the report. So if you are interested in becoming a delegate at GA, reach out to me and I'll gladly tell you what the requirements are. And if you're still uncertain about Article 2 proposed changes, your voices can still be heard. So plan to attend workshops, feedback sessions, and edits will be put forward by the UUA board and folks in many assemblies before and during GA. Did I mention that you can register to attend GA now? Just go online, you can register for GA. Now, if Article 2 does get a majority of the vote this year, we'll have another year to think about it. And of course, we'll do what we UU like to do, debate the changes. And at GA 2024, this revised version would be up for a final vote, needing 2/3 of a majority to replace the current Article 2. And so we'll be talking more about this in the future weeks when we have our GA orientation meetings. So this is a large undertaking of our faith, and if approved, Article 2 would be our guiding principles for generations. The Article 2 commissioners recognized that what they presented to the UUA board last weekend is a significant departure from our current version, as past changes were substantial. The 1985 version of Article 2, which first introduced our principles, was a radical change from the purpose and objective version in the previous article. And you know, Article 2 were not written in stone tablets, and they didn't descend from the clouds. They are a living document meant to be changed. And you know, one day, a youth in this congregation or someone in the nursery right now may serve on another commission charged to change another edition of Article 2. So friends, just as much as our UU culture is steeped in achieving perfection, that was never the commission goal. They knew whatever they produced, there would be things that people wished there had been added, things folks appreciated, and things they disliked. But what the commissioners succeeded in doing, and I wholeheartedly agree, was to create Article 2 that articulate our faith for the day and the future. Our Unitarian Universalist faith is a living tradition, so changes have always been inevitable. Change is hard, and where there's change, there's grief. But the commissioners were mindful that we did not need to lose everything. And so when you read the report, you will notice that many of the words and themes of our current principles remain in the new Article 2, just in a new format. So with change, there's growth and transformation, and I'm glad that I serve in a faith community that's transformative, that recognizes that being static is not the answer, maintaining the status quo won't work. And I'm glad to serve a faith community willing to adapt and change with time in this ever-changing world in which we live in. A world so desperately needed to hear our Unitarian Universalist message of radical hope, hear our message of transformative justice, hear our message of impassionate love, a love that embraces everyone, every creature, every creation, a love that doesn't harm. And friends, this is a message that this world desperately needs to hear. May this be so.
Thank you, Reverend Chairman. Good morning, everyone. For the past month, you have been hearing about the recipient of Share the Plate. This month's recipient has gone to a group that many of you knew as Fan-Free Clinic, to the point where I learned something last week. The Fan-Free Clinic actually, for a while, was housed in our older building. Now, Health Brigade, which is the new name, was founded with quite a simple mission: to provide exceptional health care and services to the least served in our community in a loving and non-judgmental manner. Among the many services they provide are those who are formerly incarcerated, HIV testing, linkage to care, STI testing, education, internal health, and mental health services. They especially provide support to the LGBT community, and in my discussions with them, has asked that our portion of this month's Share the Plate go to help this community. Now, this money will actually free up other money to help this fine organization continue to be a great service to our community. Please, for one last time, dig deep and share the plate with this group. And I thank you.
please look at the monitors for ways to give. And if you'd like to give in person, the ushers are now passing the basket. An offering will be received and be given and most greatly received.
We extinguish the chalice, but not the light of truth, nor the warmth of community, nor the fire of commitment. These we take with us until we are together again.
And please rise in body or in spirit for the benediction. If you are who you were and the person next to you is who he or she was, if none of us has changed since the day we came in here, we have failed. The purpose of this community, of any church, temple, zindu, mosque, is to help people grow. We do this through encounters with the unknown in ourselves and one another. And the other, whoever that might be for us, however hard that might be, because these encounters have many gifts to offer. So may you go forth from here this morning, not who you were, but what you could be. Go in peace, go in love, go in hope. Now let us sing our closing hymn. Now let us sing.